The Chicago Bears will be spending Thanksgiving Day in motels as they'll face the Detroit Lions in this 2024 edition of NFL Thanksgiving Feast. In basketball, the Chicago Bulls get their second NBA Cup win, defeating the Washington Wizards in a blowout in our nation's capital. In baseball, the Cubs are set to go on with the winter meetings and make their moves in free agency, while the White Sox will be prepared to make some offseason moves after bringing back Sox Fest Live. In college football, we are down to the last week of the regular season. We'll give you a weekly preview of those games coming up, including the big showdown between the Illinois Fighting Illini and the Northwestern Wildcats from Wrigley Field. That, it will have our Week 13 NFL picks and a whole lot more as Second City Sports, the special Thanksgiving edition, starts right now. And welcome to the special Thanksgiving edition of Second City Sports. You're live in 11 color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakita McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brown. You know that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Kingdom McGee on the Twitter, X, and again, IG.
Be sure to download the Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We are located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We are on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're at it, give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
We are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinion during our 2-hour extravaganza we call a sports talk radio show, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago's YouTube channel. I am going blank today, Lakeem, because I'm getting ready to eat. So let me rewind that one more time. If you have any questions or comments for us during our 2-hour extravaganza, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakeem will get them up on the screen for you. But you decide to troll and or do something silly, dumb, or stupid like I almost did just there. I'm giving Lakeem full powers to give you full Sibylla and beer boot.
Gobble, gobble, gobble. Toodles.
But before we begin, whether you're watching us live or watching us on the replay, make sure you follow us anytime, anywhere on all the social media platforms, and you know we will provide.
And we'll be providing you with some of the best on Second City Sports as we gear up for the Thanksgiving holiday. Of course, we got great college football action as the season's to wind down with some rivalries and a little bit of a shakeup at the top of the playoff standings. Did Kansas battle it out in Kansas City for which maybe we might have another replay of that coming up in March or early April. Of course, the Bears gear up for their Thanksgiving tussle against Detroit. Will they keep it close? That's the question here. We'll get our picks for Week 13 in the NFL and so much more. But first, Sid, let's talk a little NBA to kind of get that out the way. The Bulls get their second win of the NBA Emirates Cup. They had no trouble with the Wizards, 127-108. Kobe White led the way with 21 points. And incidentally, they're tied. I think there were like 3 other teams for the top spot. They actually played Boston on Friday. So they win that game. They get a spot in Las Vegas. A nice little team for the Bulls. They took care of business, did what they're supposed to against an inferior Wizards team that didn't have Jordan Poole, who's their leading scorer. So look, the Bulls did what they had to do, and they actually shot the ball well from 3-point range. They're about 35%, which is actually pretty good for them. And all 5 stars were double figures for the Bulls, and a nice little team effort there.
Yeah, I like the way the Bulls played last night. As we said on our show on Monday, if the Bulls couldn't win this game against a lowly ass Washington Wizards team, something was wrong with them. But as you mentioned, they came out on fire. Kobe White was once again very aggressive, both driving the ball to the paint and shooting the ball from the outside last night. He had 21 points, including 5 of 9 shooting from downtown. Zach LaVine looked great once again, 18 points, 4 of 8 from downtown. I agree with Stacey King's comment on him last night during the broadcast. If you don't think he's fully back from that fun injury he suffered last year, then something's wrong with you. Ayo Dosunmu had a great game last night, 12 points and 3 rebounds and three assists. But it was my guy, Jalen Smith, who wears number 7. He came off the bench, 18 minutes looking. He's starting to get a little bit of increase in playing time. Part of it is due to the absence of Patrick Williams. But Jalen Smith had 12 points and 9 rebounds last night. Also, too, Dalen Terry, I know he didn't look great on the score sheet, but he's starting to be active and give us a little playing time, bringing the energy off the bench. So I like the way that he's been playing. I like what I'm seeing from him. Taylor Horton Tucker from Chicago got some extended minutes last night, 16 minutes to be exact, 13 points. I'm liking the also what I'm seeing from him. I know he hasn't played that much, but everybody's minutes off the bench has stepped up because of the injury to Patrick Williams. And also, too, let's get about Matas Buzelis, 9 points last night, 4 rebounds in 17 minutes of action. It was a nice team win for the Bulls last night. And also, too, what I wanted to point out, I really like what the Bulls did defensively, not especially early, as we talked about throughout the last few years. Their interior defense has been terrible. Their defensive rotation has been terrible at times, too. But I like the way they were really getting after it defensively. And I'm talking about creating turnovers and taking the ball away last night.
Yeah, I saw the highlights of it, and nice, like I said, nice team for the Bulls, and like I said, they play the last game of the first pool play of the NBA Cup against Boston. It'll be interesting to see how Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum and the rest of that Celtics group takes this. Because actually, they play pretty well. They're also 2-1 as well. They're part of that log jam at the top, and it's gonna be interesting to see how the Bulls look. They get a couple of days off until they play Boston on Friday, and I'm kind of said. I mean, this will be the first time playing Boston this year, so I'm kind of like seeing how they measure up. I mean, like I said, we'll see how they, because we know how some teams are kind of like lagging along when it comes to this NBA Cup, but there's some teams that are taking it seriously. So we'll see how what happens there. As the Bulls take on the Celtics Friday.
Yeah, and like you said, Lakina, Boston really doesn't have anything to prove throughout this regular season. We know they're the defending world champs, and all like what the Denver Nuggets did last year. Any injuries that could linger on that could harm the team, let those players set out, get them healthy and ready to go for the playoffs. For Boston, you just got to be consistent and win enough games to have home court advantage throughout the playoffs. But you want to still be consistent and play well throughout the season. So I don't think Boston will have too much problem gearing up for the Chicago Bulls. Yes, I know the Chicago Bulls, they're not one of they're not one of the. I'm getting ready for Thanksgiving dinner early, but they're not one of the upper echelon teams in the league. And so, but can Boston get caught off guard? Sure, but I think the Bulls will be ready. But sometimes, just the better talent across from you, they don't have to do too much as long as they don't get caught in their own way. But I think the Bulls will be ready Friday. But I think Boston will do just enough to win.
Yeah, that might be the thing here. And look, I mean, at least the Bulls win one more game than they did last year. They went 0 for last year, so I guess they're already ahead in that sense. They already got one more game than last year. They already have 2 wins, so it was more than one more they won last year. So that's all you can ask for there. You listen to Second City Sports on Sports Kingdom Geese Brown with you. Special Wednesday before Thanksgiving edition. You can tell Sid is already gearing up for the Thanksgiving
upper
dinner,
echelon. So. That's what I was trying to say earlier. upper echelon teams. Yeah, exactly. The Bulls are not that Boston it is. So we'll see what happens on Friday. One more note about the Chicago before we move on. Lonzo Ball, who's been out with that wrist for the last few weeks, he's supposed to make his return tonight as the Bulls will stay on the road before Thanksgiving. They'll take on the Orlando Magic tonight. We'll run down the rest of the NBA schedule coming up, but Lonzo Ball should make his return tonight against Orlando. He's going to be on a minutes restriction again.
Yeah, so we'll see how he looks. He hasn't played in like 3 weeks, so Yeah, it could be interesting to see how he looks. I know, he and Tatum will probably have a lot of battles going at it, so that should be a fun one there. Now, that was a fun. Well, unless it took the under on the Suns Lakers matchup. KD in his first game back, 23 points as the Suns beat the Lakers 127-100. And I'm, interested to see, I'm sure Suns fans are happy that KD's back. He looked really good. It's gonna take him a little bit to kind of get back into to the groove, but Book, kicked in with 26. Bradley Beal had 23. This is sort of like what Suns fans wanted. When everyone's healthy, they're really solid and hard to beat.
Yeah, and with the addition of Titus Jones, the point guard for Phoenix, that team should be much better. Are they a championship team? Not quite, but they're better than what they were a year ago. As we said last year, Devin Booker's not a ball handler; he's a scorer. We saw that throughout the year. We saw that in that playoff series loss last year to the Minnesota Timberwolves in that first round. On the flip side, for the Los Angeles Lakers, they outside of D'Angelo Russell, 16 points. They had nothing from their bench last night. Don't Connect struggled with only 7 points, 1 of 4 from 3-point range. He was in the starting lineup. He was starting to pick up his confidence, but his confidence went back down to the floor last night. LeBron James, 18 points. He struggled shooting the ball. Anthony Davis was only the person that really carried the Lakers. He had 25 points and 15 rebounds, but everybody else disappeared. Austin Reeves, he tried. He had 15 points rather, but everybody else was MIA. So for the Lakers, I'm not worried too much. But as we said before, LeBron and AD, they had to be healthy for the majority of the season like they were a year ago. But some of the supporting cast, they're going to have to pick it up on a consistent basis. Yes, you leaned on Dalton Connect for these last 2 weeks, but Austin Reeves going to have to step up. Rui Hachimura, I know he just returned from injury, but he's going to have to step up on a consistent basis. Also, too, Austin Reeves and D'Angelo Russell going to have to step up as well.
Absolutely, and we'll see what that they're going to have to. They want to kind of stay within striking distance. Be in that top 6 in the Western Conference. Now, the rest these are all NBA Cup games from yesterday. Houston pulled away from Minnesota overtime 117-111 as Fred VanVleet had 27 points, including a couple of big threes late to put the game away for the Rockets. Milwaukee beat Miami 106-103. Dame had 37 points. He had like 6 threes or something in that game last night against the Heat. And that's it for those NBA Cup games as the rounds are finishing up. Let's take a quick break first. We'll talk about the rest of the NBA schedule. We'll talk about the schedule coming up this weekend with a long holiday weekend. Also, we'll do a little bit of college football as some people are having gripes about why is Notre Dame ranked behind Penn State. Well, I'll tell you guys. We'll tell you guys why in a bit here. Also, Kansas and Duke battled out in Kansas City for a little bit of a bragging rights here. Very good game and a very interesting game yesterday too, as well as we recap some of the games from Kansas City, the Bahamas, and Maui as well. The Keenan McGee, City Brown, City Sports on Sports on Chicago, special Wednesday edition coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I needed for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you. Your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to the special edition of Second City Sports. You're live and in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80.
You follow my Kid McGee on the Twitter, X and Kids again, IG.
We have less than 85 minutes left of this extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show. If you have any questions or comments for us as we continue our Bulls NBA talking and get into college football for this half hour, you can hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comment section. Lakino, get them up on the screen for you.
Little quick track with Monday's games. OKC, no trouble with the Kings, 130-109. As SGA had 37 points, while DeMar had 30 in a losing effort for the Kings there, which is a season high for him so far. The Nets I watched a little bit of this game on NBA TV. The Nets got the best of the Warriors, 128-120. Dennis Schroeder had 31 points. He did with 28 in the losing effort there, but shot. Had some missed shots late there. Knicks beat the Nuggets a little, I don't want to say easily, but 145-118. So if you took the over on that game, you had a nice start to your week there. And, I guess 68%, from 3-point range. To talk about the Knicks shot.
They'll do it.
Yeah. And I know that it's kind of interesting how the scoring kind of spread out. I know OG Anunoby had 40 points, which is a career high for him. So yeah, look, I think it's a long season NBA. You're always going to have someone that's the hot hand and such. So I don't think that we do this consistently, but a nice win for the Knicks out there in the Mile High City.
Yeah, no, the Knicks have been struggling the last couple of games. We talked about it on our show on Monday. With them going out on the road on this West Coast road trip, they needed to reestablish themselves and get back to their winning ways and establish themselves, especially on the defensive end. They didn't need much defense on Monday, but like you said, when everybody's shooting the ball very well, it's very hard for someone to beat you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we have a lot of scores for the Knicks there. I think someone had 17 assists, another player had 17 rebounds or something like that. So that's the first time ever in the NBA that someone has had that, a team's had that feat in one game. So I guess you can go figure with that one. Grizzlies beat the Blazers. Boston over the Clippers 126-94 as Jason Tatum had 20 points. Nice little wide spread effort there by the Celtics, by the defending champs. The Mavs beat Atlanta Indiana edged the Pelicans. Detroit edged out the Raptors, and Orlando beat Charlotte. Franz Wagner picking up the slack from Paulo Banchero. He's been doing that a lot lately. 21 points there in that win against the Hornets for Orlando.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say, wait till Paulo Banchero returns because that Orlando Magic team, barring any major injuries, that's going to be a real dangerous team. We talked about what they did last year. They should have won that first round series against the Cleveland Cavaliers. But Jamal Mosley, their head coach, he's done a great job over these last couple of years, and now he's being rewarded. Like I said, when Paulo Banchero gets back, barring the major injuries, that Orlando team, along with Cleveland, they're going to be a dangerous. Those two are going to be dangerous teams in the Eastern Conference.
Gotta stay healthy. I think that's going to be the key. Now, as we go into the scheduling for this long Thanksgiving weekend, tonight on Wednesday, Miami and Charlotte, 6:00. Atlanta and Cleveland, speaking of the Cavs, Portland and Indiana, as Portland continues their trip. The Bulls, quick turnaround for them. They face Orlando, the aforementioned Orlando squad at 6. Houston meets Philadelphia. The Clippers continue East Coast swing. They face the Wizards tonight. The first game, the ESPN doubleheader, should be a good one. They got the Knicks and the Mavs. Detroit and Memphis, Sacramento and Minnesota. That should be an interesting one there, as both teams really need this. They've both been struggling these last couple of weeks, especially Minnesota. So both these teams need a win here desperately. Toronto and New Orleans at 7. Lakers and San Antonio. That should be a fun one there as well down in Texas. Brooklyn and Phoenix at 8. You got Denver and Utah. And the second game of the ESPN Wednesday doubleheader, you have OKC and Golden State.
Yeah, get your track shoes ready for that one. No games on Thursday for the NBA because of the Thanksgiving, the holiday, so they'll have the day off. Well, they'll resume action on Friday, and this will be NBA continuation of the NBA group play. These are games for this Friday as the NBA Cup group play continues. At 11 o'clock on Friday on NBA TV, we'll have the New York Knicks at the Charlotte Hornets. Other NBA Cup games for Friday: Cleveland at Atlanta, New Orleans at Memphis, Orlando at Brooklyn, the Clippers at Minnesota, Detroit at Indiana, Toronto at Miami. As you mentioned in our last segment, the Bulls will host the Boston Celtics this Friday at the UC. You'll see that beautiful red court for the NBA Cup. On ESPN, it's the Thunder and the Lakers. Now, Friday's doubleheader on ESPN will have the Clippers and Timberwolves at 6:30, followed by the Thunder and the Lakers at 9 o'clock. There's your NBA schedule for this coming Friday as the NBA group play continues.
Saturday, as the Hawks meet the Hornets for a little matinee on Saturday. Sixers and Detroit, Washington and Milwaukee. The NBA TV game of the week. This should be a good one over in Phoenix. You got Golden State and the Suns. And you got Dallas and Utah. That's your schedule for Saturday.
For Sunday, the schedule is loaded. Here are the games are as follows: Orlando visits Brooklyn, Indiana will face Memphis, Boston and Cleveland will do battle on NBA TV at 5 o'clock for Sunday. New York will host the New York Knicks will host the New Orleans Pelicans. The Miami Heat will travel to Toronto to face the Raptors. OKC will face Houston. The Los Angeles Lakers will play in Utah to face the Jazz. Dallas at Portland. And to wrap up the Sunday night schedule, San Antonio will face Sacramento. That should be an interesting game there. And the Nuggets will face the Los Angeles Clippers in the new Intuit Dome. I think this will be the first visit for the Nuggets in that new place this year.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is. So that should be a fun one there. And that's your schedule for this weekend in the NBA.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, a special pre-Thanksgiving edition of the program. Sid Lakina here with you as we now preview the last regular season week in the world of college football. Lakina, let's discuss the rankings that came out yesterday. And like you teased before the break, some folks are mad at the positioning for Notre Dame. And as we told you guys before the season started, they cannot rank any higher, I believe, 5th because they are independent when it comes to football. What's the outrage about again this time?
Well, yeah, and I think as I said this morning on Twitter X, the Penn State lost to Ohio State. Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois. Which is the better loss, folks? I'm just saying, And we've seen how Northern has struggled, unfortunately, lately since that win against the Irish. So yeah, that's why. And like you said, that's another reason why people forgot that since they're not in the conference. There's a reason why they can't go no higher than fifth. So sorry, it was part of the new deal for this expanded playoff. So this is what y'all wanted, and that Notre Dame was going to get the short end of it. They have a very tough matchup coming up against USC, and they would love to play spoiler for Notre Dame. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, that's one of the reasons why. I don't know why people are having a big rub about it, but I digress. Of course, your top four: Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, and Penn State. Then you have Notre Dame, Miami, Georgia, Tennessee, SMU, Alabama, Boise State, and Clemson. Those are your top four. And then you've got Alabama, Ole Miss, South Carolina, and Arizona State. Those are kind of like your next four in line. So a lot of movements could still be decided here with these games coming up this weekend.
Yeah, the one team that's not in there we talked about on Monday is Colorado. They're 6-2 in Big 12 play. I think it's a three-way tie. A three-way tie between them, Arizona State, and BYU for that top spot in the Big 12. Of course, as I said on Monday, it looks like Colorado they still have a slight chance of making the college football playoff, but they'll have to win their game against Oklahoma State, which I think they will do. But they're going to have to get a lot of help to play in the Big 12 title game next week. I don't know if that's going to happen, but we'll see what happens down the road. But like you said, Lakina, those quote-unquote standings, they're not going to be the final standings. I'll tell you that right now.
Oh, no, they are not. And just a little quick synopsis here of from yesterday. Akron beat Toledo in overtime. It's the first time I think like 11 years that Akron's beaten Toledo. So yeah, nice win for the Zips there. Memphis and Tulane, that should be a fun one on Thanksgiving. That should be a little Thanksgiving matinee down there in New Orleans. These are games for Friday now. Oregon State and Boise State. That'll be the big, well, not that's a big noon because it's gonna be Friday, but it is gonna be at 11 a.m. on Fox. So we're just, yeah. So gonna be interesting to see how both these teams are not used to playing this early. So Oregon's 5-6. They thought they were right there for it, but they kind of struggled lately. So Ashton Genty, I know he's been a little bit banged up, so you got to wonder, is it starting to get a little bit of wear and tear there? Oregon State's got a pretty good defense, so maybe they could slow him down a little bit. So we'll see there.
Yeah, I'm with you. Watch out in definitely the first 10 minutes of the game to see how these two teams, even though they're based on the West Coast, how they acclimate to the time, because like you said, it's 11 o'clock Chicago time, which is 9 a.m. out there. So I don't think they even practice at that time, Lakina. They're just waking up, getting to the facility at that time. So it's going to be an adjustment for both these teams, but expect action to pick up toward the end of the first half, going into the second half as they get acclimated to playing in a different time frame.
Should be interesting to see what happens there. Of course, the aforementioned Oklahoma State and Colorado. That's going to be 11 a.m. on ABC. Another early game on Friday on CBS. Minnesota and Wisconsin. We talked about our buddy Alec Osmus from ABC 5 up in the Twin Cities. That should we'll see maybe Minnesota get the position to go to a better bowl game. We'll see. Let's see here. Navy and East Carolina. That's 11 a.m. on ESPN. You got Mississippi State and Ole Miss for the Egg Bowl on ABC at 2:30. Ole Miss, so you're hoping to bounce back from last week's loss. Liberty and Sam Houston State. That should be a fun one. I think that's in the Sun Belt. On FS1, you got Colorado State hosting Utah State. CBS second game, you got Stanford and San Jose State. An interesting matchup there in the middle of a Friday, Black Friday. Georgia Tech and Georgia. Georgia really needs all the help they can to get. They may not. I don't know if they'll be able to get the SEC title game, but definitely fresh in position is going to be a tough matchup against Tech. So that should be a good one on ABC Friday night. They got Nebraska and Iowa. That's to be on NBC. And you got Utah UCF in the Big 12 on Fox on 7 at 7.
All right, Saturday. Here's your big time primetime games that's scheduled for big noon Saturday on Fox. Is Michigan versus Ohio State. Don't forget, if you guys are interested, Fox's pregame show will start 1 hour early. That's 8 a.m. Central Standard Time here in Chicago for the Fox big noon kickoff pregame show. Ohio State comes into this game 10-1. You saw what they did to Indiana last week. Michigan struggling at 6-5. I think they're qualified to go into a bowl game, but they're going to face a tall task in going into the horseshoe and trying to upset the Buckeyes. Ohio State's favored by 21 points.
4 in a row that Ryan Day lost against Michigan. So if he should be able to win this year, but then again, you never know. We've seen stranger things happen. Remember, Sharon Moore, one of his first wins was against Ohio State at the Horseshoe. So it'll be interested to see. Yeah, so it'll be interested to see how the team Michigan responds. No matter, you kind of throw the records out the window when they face each other. It's not going to be for the Big Ten title or a spot in the Big Ten title game, but. Look, it's always good when these two teams play, so it should be a fun one down there at the Horseshoe. Should be an intriguing one here at the same time on ABC. You got Tennessee and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, of course, they've kind of struggled a little bit the last couple of weeks. Tennessee, they still got an outside shot of getting into the playoff. A lot has to happen in front of them, so should be. I mean, sure, Josh Heupel will have his guys ready for this game because Vandy's not. They've proven this season they're not a pushover, so hopefully. It should be a good matchup down there in Nashville.
I think, like I said, it's an in-state rivalry game. You mentioned Tennessee has struggled. I still believe that they have one of the best defensive units in the country. I know they got shredded by Georgia a couple weeks ago, but I think, like you said, they'll have their guys ready to go, and I think they'll make a statement if they want to get into the SEC title game. If they want to sneak into the college playoff, I think they have to blow out Vanderbilt by at least 20 points. So we'll see what happens. Tennessee's currently favored by 10.5.
Interesting. Down in Clemson, should be a good one here with these two in-state rivals. You got South Carolina and Clemson at 11 a.m. on ESPN. Both these teams, this kind of an elimination game for the playoff, I guess, if you want to use that aspect of it. And should be, look, I mean, South Carolina beat Clemson last year, so I'm sure, Dabo was going on his revenge. So that should be a good one down there in Clemson.
Yeah, watch out for Cade Klubnik. He's having a great year. 29 touchdown passes to 4 interceptions. I know he may be a sneaky candidate for the Heisman, but you got about 5 or 6 players above him that's better worthy candidates for that trophy. Also, to watch out for the Tigers stud wide receiver Antonio Williams. 58 catches on the year, 689 receiving yards and 10 receiving touchdowns.
Well, and don't forget, they got that great offense. Talk about the Gamecocks do, and with their quarterback Sellers. So that's going to be the Norris Sellers. So he could be, we have to slow him. That defense for Tigers going to have to slow him down a little bit. So it should be interesting. Like I said, it should be a very thrilling matchup down there in Clemson. Probably one of the better ones. It's good to see that both teams are good. Because I think this rivalry is probably one of the most underrated rivalries in college football. Well, speaking of in-state rivalries, you got Illinois and Northwestern going to be playing at the Lakefront.
The lake.
It's going to be nice and cold, though. It's going to be in the 20s. So, make sure you guys warm up. You guys go into the game there. But, Illinois, of course, 9 wins. They could get to 10 if they beat Northwestern. They could probably go to maybe a New Year's Day bowl game, depending on how everything kind of sets up.
Yeah, Illinois, nice win last week on the last second by Pat Bryant, their star wide receiver. He caught the game-winning touchdown to catch and run. Great pass by Luke Altmaier. They shouldn't have any problems with the Northwest, but sometimes Northwestern, you don't know what's going to happen, especially during the last week of the season. As we said before, Northwestern, they're led by their defense, but they have struggled offensively all year long. I know they got dominated at Michigan last week, but if Illinois gets up to a hot start, which they should, they will get that 9th win of the year, and they should play in the New Year's Day bowl game. So I expect Illinois to win right here. They're favored by 7.5.
Keep up with the in-state rivalry thing. You got Louisville and Kentucky at 11 a.m. on SC Network. That should be a fun one. Usually, if only the basketball teams could play each other again, but that's a whole different conversation. But look, the football rivalry is alive and well. They've had some great games over in recent years, so that should be a fun one. There, Duke and Wake Forest is going to be on the AC Network at 11 a.m. ESPN2 at 11 a.m. We got Kansas. They've won 3 in a row. They need this win against Baylor to get into a bowl game. So they've been on a roll lately. Should be a fun one down there in Waco. West Virginia and Texas Tech at FS1 at the same time. Let's see here. Army hoping to bounce back from the loss to Notre Dame. They host UTSA, the Road Runners, beep beep, on CBS Sports Network at 11 a.m. Going into the CW game of the week for those of you on WGN Channel 9 here in Chicago. You got Pittsburgh and Boston College. Pittsburgh's been falling off a little bit the last few weeks after starting undefeated, so they can try to finish strong and try to get into a big bowl game. Maryland and Penn State, number 4 Penn State at 2:30 on the Big Ten Network. USC, I talked about this. USC hosts Notre Dame on CBS at 2:30. So I think it's the first time this game will be on CBS, I believe.
Mhm.
So, and Caleb Williams will actually be there for that game because we've been the honorary captain. So maybe USC can kind of play a little spoil for Notre Dame a little bit there over there at Los Angeles at the Memorial
Hopefully
Coliseum.
Caleb won't show up in a body bag. Presumably what's going to happen to him on Thursday, but I'm just saying.
So we'll see how Notre Dame kind of
No pun
responds.
intended.
Right, yeah, we'll see how Notre Dame responds. Well, let's see how USC responds. I mean, look, they had a nice win against UCLA, so hopefully maybe they can kind of keep it close against Notre Dame. We'll see. Miami and Syracuse at 2:30 on ESPN. Our buddy Dave Kerner, of course, who's a Syracuse grad. Miami has had a little trouble with Syracuse in recent years in the Carrier Dome, so I'm sure Fran Brown will have his guys ready. Miami needs to really win to cement their spot in the ACC championship game, so can't have any hiccups here. SMU hosts Cal on ESPN2 at 2:30. You got the Iron Bowl at 2:30 on ABC. This is the first time I'm thinking about 15, 20 years this game's been on ABC. Auburn and Alabama. Of course, Auburn coming off that upset win against Texas A&M. Alabama, being upset by Oklahoma and down in Norman. So who do you think has the edge here in this Iron Bowl, Sid?
I think Alabama does because of what happened last weekend. I know they're pissed off that they won't be able to participate in a college football playoff. So I think they're going to take out that anger on Auburn. And currently, Alabama is favored by 11.5 points at home.
Okay, in-state rivalry. Speaking of the theme there, Arizona State, they really need to win this game against Arizona that's at 2:30 on Fox to cement their spot in the Big 12 title game because they got the tiebreakers. They did not play Colorado, so they had the tiebreaker against some of the other teams behind them. So as long as they'll almost cough it up like they did it against BYU, like they almost did.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying, but hopefully they can take their business against Arizona down there in Tucson.
Yeah, Arizona State is favored by 8.5 points on the road, so it's not going to be easy.
Mizzou hosts Arkansas on the SEC Network at 2:30. Rutgers against Michigan State on FS1. UCLA going out of conference. They face Fresno State on the Big Ten Network. North Carolina State against North Carolina. We just see how North Carolina says now Mac Brown is now out. He'll be out after the season. So we'll see how this team responds. Trying to send out a winner against your in-state rival.
At 2:30 p.m. on the CBS Sports Network, live from Husky Stadium in DeKalb, Illinois. It's the Northern Illinois Huskies versus Central Michigan. Northern Illinois, they're currently favored by 12.5 points. They are 6-5 on the year, 3-4 in MAC play. As you talked about before, Lakina, a few moments ago, the Huskies struggled after that upset win early in the year at Irish Stadium against Notre Dame. They have a chance to finish up strong here at home. I expect them to do that and finish up the year at 7-5.
Yeah, they kind of struggled. They kind of been up and down since that win against Notre Dame. I think, like you said, they were kind of feeling themselves a little bit during that time. Got a couple of bad losses, especially in conference play. So we'll see if they can at least finish strong. They try to get to a decent bowl game, I think. Going into the nighttime games, TCU and Cincinnati is going to be on ESPN Plus. Indiana hoping to bounce back from that, getting pounded by Ohio State. They host Purdue at 6. I think they're going to take it out on them.
Yes, yes, all Indiana, and they're favored by 29 points.
Yeah, I say take the over probably on that one. I'm not gonna be in a very good mood. Just saying. No shade Purdue, but yeah, y'all. No, I'm afraid for y'all. Florida State, the old rivalry here on ESPN2 at 6. Oklahoma and LSU on ESPN. Brian Kelly hoping to after losing one of his top recruits to Michigan. I don't know what. I don't know. I've got nothing. Oklahoma hoping to kind of finish strong here. Of course, they got the great win against Alabama. Hoping to do the same thing against LSU.
As I said a couple of weeks ago, I'm not a big Brian Kelly supporter anymore. He has all of the advantages at LSU over the last 3 years. And as one famous YouTuber once said, don't fumble the bag. He's fumbled the bag. As you mentioned, now you lose your top recruit to the University of Michigan. Bad times. But I think LSU will have enough stones to pull out this one. They're currently favored by 6 points at home.
Okay. Old Pac-10, Pac-12 rivalry reinvented here in the Big Ten. On NBC, got Oregon hosting Washington. That should be a fun one. Usually it's between those two teams. On ABC at 6:30, also a couple of in-state rivals, Texas and Texas A&M. Texas A&M got caught looking ahead past Auburn. Whoops. So we'll see how they respond after that loss. Kansas State and Iowa State on Fox. Nevada and UNLV is going to be on the CBS Sports Network. Virginia at VOD Tech on the ACC Network. BYU hosts Houston at 9:15 on ESPN. And New Mexico and Hawaii for all you late nighters. It's going to be at 10 o'clock our time. So if you want to stay up and watch a little Hawaii football, it's still be there. But yeah, that is your schedule for this long weekend in college football as the regular season winds down.
Just a couple of games on note, Lakina, for a potential upset alert. Do you think that Iowa State should be on upset alert against Kansas? Because as we mentioned at the top of the segment, Iowa State is in a 3-way tie between BYU and Colorado for that top spot in the Big 12. ASU, Arizona State, BYU, and Colorado for that Big 12 title game. Should Iowa State be on upset alert? I think they should be.
Well, yeah, I think they should. I mean, look, Kansas State, these two have played over, kind of been back and forth over the last, especially in the last decade. And Iowa State needs this win to kind of give themselves a shot at the Big 12 title game. Like I said, some of these teams didn't play each other, so it's going to be like weird, like tiebreaker stuff. So, basically, if Arizona State kind of is in the driver's seat after them, everyone else is it's kind of a scramble. So like I said, it's going to be a weird on how odd tiebreakers are. So I don't know how they're going to decide this.
And Texas A&M, like you mentioned last week, they got caught looking ahead. Should Texas still be on upset alert, even though they're going to have a tough game at College Station on the road?
Yeah, it's usually that place is going to be rocking down there at Kyle Field, so that place is going to be rocking. So I think Texas used to this because that they played in the Big 12 for years, before A&M went to the SEC. So this is kind of like a renewed rivalry. And also, of course, they played a lot in the Southwest Conference for years. So kind of a rebirth of that rivalry. So I think Texas will be ready. I think, but because I think they know that. Look, this is they really need this to kind of keep them up in the right in the thick of it for those top spots, and plus also for the SEC championship game especially.
We shut the door on hour number 1. Hour number 2's doors will open following these messages as we give you our Bears and Lions preview. Will it be a bloodbath or will it be closer than expected? Plus, we'll give you our weekly NFL picks. We'll discuss breaking news in the world of Major League Baseball in free agency, and a whole lot more. I found an article, time permitting, I found an interesting article in The Athletic regarding the NBA All-Star Game. That and a whole lot more as you join us for hour number 2. Coming up next, I'm Sid. That's Lakina. You're live in living color on Sports Zone Chicago.
No, I don't know, though. I'm scared. I mean, you're scared.
Do you know that you're in my lane? No, not at all. Are you not paying attention? Are you texting? I was just checking in with my mom. I was telling her that I thought we'd be home by 6. It's okay. There's enough time. Just pay attention. I'm not even halfway through my text. There's no way. I'm not even going to look up. My babies are in the car. You have to pay attention. It's just supposed to be a quick text. I'm so sorry.
Hi, I'm Tom Brady, the director of DODEA. September is National Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month. The simple act of reaching out and caring for those in our communities is something we all can do. Just being there for someone you care about can be a tremendous first step in getting them access to confidential resources and support that they need. It only takes one person and one small act and 1 minute to make a difference. Let's make a difference.
Many will hear the calling. Few will earn the title. United States Marine. The few, the proud, the Marines.
You're entering hour number 2 of Second City Sports on the special pre-Thanksgiving Day edition. You're live right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakina McGee, which is she. I am Sydney Brown. You know that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at CK80. Once again, it's CK80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow my Lakina McGee on the Twitter, X, and IG.
We have less than an hour left of this extravaganza we call it a Sports Talk Radio Show. You have any questions or comments for us regarding the Chicago Bears and the Detroit Lions matchup coming up on Thanksgiving Day from Ford Field? You can hit us up right now at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid, this will be the first game on the docket, week 13 tomorrow. Bears and Lions. Okay. I guess you could take a little bit of synopsis of the fact the last couple of weeks the Bears have actually, showed a little bit of fight, but they found a way to lose some of those games. You're facing a Detroit team that really didn't have to expound too much energy against Indy. So, for me, it's gonna be on CBS. So my apologies to hopefully you guys won't be eating before this game is over. Won't be eating before this game is over with. But yeah, I mean, I guess if you want to tease here, I guess if you're the Bears, I guess you want to try to see if you try to set the tone early. Yeah, you score on the touchdown for the first time in the first quarter, like in 5 or 6 weeks, last week against the Vikings. But you're definitely setting it up in class a little bit. And you got to think that Dan Campbell's not gonna take the Bears lightly. He's not gonna and I'm sure that David Montgomery always wants to I don't want to say show off, but also wants to kind of make it known that he should have stayed, with the Bears. I think, in the back of your mind. So I think they can keep it close up, but the Bears can. But again, the Detroit's playing at a whole nother level right now.
Yeah, Detroit did struggle in a passing game last week against Indianapolis, but as we said on our show on Monday, it was a running game that got them through, being a young, tough Indianapolis Colts team 24-6. You mentioned David Montgomery. He didn't do anything against the Bears last year in the game in Chicago, but in the game in Detroit last year where the Bears were up 12 midway through the fourth quarter, it was his go-ahead touchdown that sealed the win for the Lions as trying to get his, as the kids would say, his lit back against Chicago. So I'm looking for an anytime touchdown for Mr. Montgomery tomorrow. Take a look at some of the numbers via the rankings, comparisons between both these teams entering tomorrow's contest. On offense, the Bears are ranked 27th, while the Lions are ranked number 3. Total defense, the Bears 16th, the Lions 10th. In passing, the Bears 3rd from the bottom at number 29, the Lions 6th. And in total rushing, the Bears 23rd and the Lions 5th. Lakina, as you said just now, it's that simple. If the Lions get off the bus running early, especially with Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, it's going to make Jared Goff's job that much easier for the Detroit Lions. We all know about second-year tight end Sam Laporta. Look for him to have a huge game. But also, too, we know about Amon-Ra St. Brown, their top wide receiver. He got paid this offseason. He's having another good year. But watch out for Khalif Raymond and Jameson Williams, who's returned from the injured list as well. So the Lions have dynamic weapons all around on offense, not just in their running game.
Yeah, and that's really going to be the key here. It's going to be tough for the Bears to try to kind of slow that down. And as you slow one part of it down, they got other guys, behind on the back end that definitely help out. So we got a lot of nice little depth there for that offense, especially. So, and we know that the Bears run defense, especially, has been struggling these last, month and a half, and they've had their own issues. So, I'm kind of wondering, can Montez Sweat, can Kyler Gordon try to slow down that Lions offense? So it'll be just to see what happens there. Now, on the defensive side, look, you got to Darius Smith. He's starting to kind of get it going there. They traded him right to the trade deadline from Cleveland. He's kind of been helping out, especially with that pass rush. Of course, Aiden Hutchinson isn't there. The secondary is a little bit concerning. You got Kirby Joseph, I should say, so who's a veteran. Safety. Emmanuel Mosley there as well in the nickel. So that could probably help out a little bit. We'll see how that matchup goes. You got Joseph against, I'm sure, probably DJ Moore, more or less. So it's going to be interesting to see how kind of like that part of it. So that's, if you can say that the one thing that's probably is kind of like the weakness for the Lions is probably that secondary defense. But again, if you're the Lions, you want to try to get that run game going to kind of keep Caleb and the rest of that Bears offense off the field and just kind of wear out the defense.
Yeah, speaking of wearing out the defense, let's go to the Bears side of things. Wearing out the Detroit Lions secondary. This is going to be another big challenge for new Bears offensive coordinator Thomas Brown. What can Brown do for you? Well, here's what Brown can pose as a game plan for Chicago. Do what Detroit does. Get off the bus running. That's DeAndre Swift, Roschon Johnson being used at the goal line, which opens up the playbook for Caleb Williams, who's been playing well these last couple weeks ever since the new OC change, and which opens up for Cole Kmet, especially inside the red zone. I think DJ Moore will have another solid performance if the Bears stick to that running game, especially early. I mentioned Cole Kmet. Let's forget Rome Odunze. I know he didn't have the statistics to match his effort last week, but we all know that he and Caleb have a special connection there. And also, too, Keenan Allen, he had his best game as a Bear in a while last week against Minnesota. So the Bears just have to open up the running game early, use some play action, continue to use motion guys in and out, whether it's Keenan Allen, Rome, or whoever, or DJ Moore. I know DJ Moore was used in a slot in some situations last week. Continue to do that. And you could maybe throw off the Lions secondary and open up the passing game a little bit more for Caleb Williams. And also, too, for Caleb, have him do a little bit more quarterback bootleg and have him scramble, not like Michael Vick, but take what the defense gives you. If it's not there, you can take off running. Don't hold the ball too damn long like you did last week in that only possession that they had in overtime, which cost them.
Yeah, and Aaron Glenn, who's a DC for the Lions, he's gonna have he's not really a blitz guy, unlike Brian Flores, but he is more of like they're more of a nickel defense, 4-3. So I'm talking about the Lions. So that'll be interesting to see like how that kind of will they kind of like kind of have the blitz packages and perhaps try to use that nickel a little bit more to kind of throw Caleb off, and that's really gonna be the key here. And that defense for the Lions is going to be interesting to see. This is sort of look. The case is that now people will have tape on that new how Thomas Brown's got a call in these offenses. So you're not gonna be able to surprise a lot of guys. Now, as far as the Bears defense, I mean, guys like Montez Sweat, Jalen Johnson, Tyler Gordon, I mean, those guys are gonna have to step up if they want to try to slow down that offense. I mean, look, Houston kind of showed you how to do it, but unfortunately, they still ended up losing that game. Talking about Houston did. So, it's going to be interesting to see like how the Bears will try to kind of force. Well, Matt Eberflus kind of blitz a lot, blitz that offense for the Lions a lot, and how will the Bears respond? Because that whole thing is really going to be kind of the key here to see if the Bears can kind of, at the very least, keep this game close.
The Bears, I'm glad you brought up that secondary. The Bears secondary must play better. We all know about Jaquan Brisker. He's out for the foreseeable future. Both Jalen Johnson and Tyreek Stevenson both had bad games last week. Tyreek Stevenson has disappeared ever since that debacle, which was all his fault against the Washington Commanders. We won't have to go through that situation again. Jalen Johnson, who was supposed to be one of the top corners in the league, he struggled the last 2 weeks being out of position and just not being focused. So I know sometimes during the long season you're going to have your struggles, but he hasn't had a good game in the last few weeks. So Jalen Johnson needs to get back on track. I'm assuming he's going to be guarding Amon St. Brown. We know that young man has speed, so it's going to be another tough task for Jalen Johnson. If he wants to have everybody off his back, he's going to have a good game. Now, they did statistically shut down Justin Jefferson last week, but Jordan Addison had a better game for that Minnesota Vikings receiving core. And let's just say they keep Amon St. Brown's numbers down. Like I said a couple minutes ago, if they let Khalif Raymond go off or if they let Jameson Williams go off, it's going to be another long day for that Bears secondary.
Same thing also with Sam Laporta. I mean, of course, he just came back from injury last week against Indy, and you got to think he'll probably be left open as well. So you'll be able to tame St. Brown, but everyone else, that's if you might have if you have any one of those guys that Sid mentioned on your fantasy team as you get into the playoffs, it might be a long day for the Bears. So, but we'll see.
Yeah, I had the Bears on my fantasy team, but I put them rightfully so on my bench this week. And so
go ahead.
No, I put them on my bench this weekend. Before we move on, I want to talk about the special teams real quick. Jake Bates, who was a rookie kicker, I don't think he has missed a kick at all this year. I know he was a last-minute replacement via training camp because the original kicker got injured. But on the other side for the Chicago Bears, Cairo Santos, he did rebound by making a field goal to force overtime last week against Minnesota, but 2 straight weeks with 2 straight blocks, and part of it was his fault. The other part was that bad left side of the offensive line. Do we make it 3 for 3 this week with a blocked field goal? You don't think Lightning plays 3 times, can it?
Well, the good news is that they're going to be indoors at Ford Field, so it shouldn't be a problem. But again, if the kicks have been low and the Vikings special teams, guys, said the same thing that the Packers, special teams said a couple of weeks ago that, the kicks have been very low. So we'll see if Detroit can kind of try to exploit that part of that again. So I don't know. I mean, look, the special teams could be a thing here, but it may not even be effective because this game could, like I said, could get out of hand real quick. So we'll see.
No, we'll give out our picks during our next segment, during our NFL picks segment. Do you think, Lakina, this is going to be ugly by halftime at least?
I mean, I'll be nice and give the Bears at least they keep it close, but I think by the second half, I think it will probably be run away. I think, but look, knowing Dan Campbell is going to want to try to wrap this up early, so I think they're going to want to. It's going to depend on how they start. They're going to want to start quick. So, and we know the Bears have still been a little bit banged up. So, we'll see. It's going to be interesting how kind of all this shakes out. But yeah, it's going to be it might get ugly quick.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakina here, hanging out with you in our pre-Thanksgiving edition of the program, talking Bears and NFL. Lakina, quickly before we move on, I'm hearing some talk, as usual, from these Chicago sports media streets via the radio and certain podcasts that should the Bears get embarrassed tomorrow by the Lions like the Lions did the Jaguars a couple weeks ago, Matt Eberflus should be on the way home packing his things and moving out of Hallis Hall. But if they lose a close one, some people feel that he still should be gone. But realistically, if the Bears, let's just say the Bears get down by 20, 25 points, and then they put up some couple of meaningless touchdowns toward the end of the game and make it look close, air quotes, I think that McCaskey's is safe to say that they're going to let Eberflus stay because remember his post game presser last week against Minnesota. Oh, we kept it together. We fought back. We balled up our fist and we punched back and blah blah blah. But should that scenario happen tomorrow, I think that message is going to will stay the same, and the Bears can lie to themselves being. Oh well, we believe in our culture and we still fight it even though the odds are against us. But if they get their asses kicked, how could you let Eberflus come back? But we all know that McCaskey's they don't operate this way in terms of firing coaches in the middle of the season. But if they get embarrassed, Eberflus should be fired. But I don't think the McCaskies have the guts to pull the trigger.
Well, you just said yourself why they probably won't do it is because they'll look at that and say, well, we could have won like 2 or 3 of those games. We could be 7-4 right about now, so 4-7, or maybe even 8-3. So yeah, that's their mindset. So even if they do get their butts kicked in Detroit, which again I would say give it like maybe a 60% chance, that 60 to 70% chance that happens. They'll keep them nonetheless, no matter what happens. Because like you said, their mindset's going to be, well, we had a couple of chances to, like I said, we could be 7-4, 8-3, or what have you. We believe in our coach. Like you just said, you just answered the question we said.
All right. So we'll see what happens on Thanksgiving Day as the Bears battle the Lions in the first of 3 games. We'll give you our picks as we said coming up at the bottom of the hour. Let's move on to some bigger NFL topics, Lakina. MVP candidates. Some people say Saquon Barkley's now in the mix from the Philadelphia Eagles. Others still have Lamar Jackson, as yours truly does. But what other candidates that people are not talking about, they should be talking about, at least for that top 5 spot for MVP?
I think Josh Allen should definitely be in the mix. I feel like you saw that great run, that kind of sealed that win for the Bills against the Chiefs a couple of weeks ago. So he might, he should probably be in the mix there for them. I guess you could say TJ Watt. I think you're really rare. It's kind of rare that a defensive guy wins MVP. So I think the last guy to do was Aaron Donald, and that was about 4 or 5 years ago. So I'm sure his name's probably in the mix as well. Let's see here. I'm trying to think of another guy that might be in the mix that people might be missing. I know some people. I know I've heard of some folks in the house that maybe Geno Smith should be at the top of that second tier. The second tier, I should say. Baker Mayfield's another guy that probably should be in that second tier mix for MVP. Maybe. I don't know about Jalen Hurts. Maybe AJ Brown. I guess.
I was going to say Jalen Hurts in that second tier because he's really played well over the last month.
Yeah, so I think Hurts is probably in that second tier group there as well. Should be a good one. That Eagles Ravens game should be a good one there later on Sunday. I think that's about it. I think right at the top of my head for us for like first tier and second tier guys. I think those are kind of like your 7 or 8. Like you can put them kind of in like however order you want. I think those are your 7 or 8 guys for MVP at least so far.
Yeah, I think this is Lamar Jackson's MVP to lose. We mentioned those other names for candidates for MVP. They're all worthy names. I think Saquon Barkley is number 2 for me. Lamar Jackson is number 1, especially at the kind of bounce back performance that he had. I'm talking about Lamar Jackson on Monday against the LA Chargers. He's back on top where he belongs in terms of the MVP race. As we talked about too with Baltimore, they haven't had much of this year, but a couple of weeks ago against Pittsburgh, their offense was like pulling teeth and watching paint dry, but they bounced back with a convincing win this past Monday against the Chargers.
Yeah, so that's really going to be the that should be interesting about that Chargers. I mean, yeah, I think he looked really good. You probably even say Derrick Henry could probably be in that mix too as well, in that second tier mix for MVP. You saw what he did against the Chargers on Monday. I don't know. I mean, like I said, there's a lot still on the season left to be played. So, it's going to be interesting to kind of like see how all this kind of shakes out. So, yeah, it's going to be a little bit, kind of down to the wire. It could go down to the last couple of games of the regular season. So, we'll see. There's like a state sports on Sports on Chicago. Like Keenan McGee, City Brown with you. Any other NFL news and notes before we
yes,
other games?
Yeah, just real quick, in the NFC, I know people are talking about the Lions being the best team in the NFC in rivalry saw with the 10-1 record. But is it the Lions and everybody else in the NFC, or do you see the Philadelphia Eagles challenging Detroit between now and the end of the regular season?
Yeah, I think they can. I think they could definitely be right there. And I think Washington kind of fell off a little bit. We know the Giants are bad. I mean, I know the Cowboys. I know they stole that game. They literally did steal that game against the Commanders last Sunday. But I think the Eagles are definitely kind of getting better lately. They've been a little bit banged up. Darius Slay, I don't know what his status is for that game against Baltimore, because they're really going to need him. They want to try to slow that Baltimore offense down. But yeah, I think the Eagles could definitely make a case for being the number 2 team in the NFC. And I really don't see anybody else. I mean, are you scared of Minnesota? Not really. Is anyone in the NFC? Anyone in the NFC South scared? You're talking about, well, we'll say the Falcons right now, but they've been kind of been in a free fall lately. Tampa?
No.
Any of the teams in the NFC West?
No, I would say San Francisco, but Brock Purdy is currently hurt. I don't know if he's going to play this week, but I would say San Francisco, but Purdy's not there, so no. One team that could be scary, but their quarterback is not 100%, obviously, and that's the Green Bay Packers and Jordan Love. I know Jordan Love's been struggling with injuries throughout the year. He currently has a growing injury. As we talked about in our show on Monday, the Packers didn't need him against San Francisco because they leaned on their running game and Josh Jacobs, and their opportunistic defense has been stellar all year long. And the Packers are 8-3 right now. They had a big win against an injury-riddled San Francisco team at home last week. I think they could be the only other team that could challenge Philly or Detroit. Remember, Green Bay could beat Detroit twice last year. I know they lost at home. I'm talking about Green Bay. They lost to Detroit at home early in the year. But remember, they upset them last year on Thanksgiving in Detroit. So they can play with Detroit.
Yeah, they can. And I think this is definitely they play again, I believe, in a couple of weeks. So that's going to be interesting to see how both these teams kind of play out there. They got to get Jordan Love healthy. That's going to be the key if they want to challenge Detroit for that top spot in the NFC. AFC, I know Kansas City is the top right now, but I think it's Buffalo. I mean, I'm not gonna, make any cases about that. It is Buffalo. You saw how Casey looked against Carolina. That defense is a little bit suspect. I think. I know, Pacheco should be back. I know it looks like, I guess Hollywood Brown could be back, by, in the next week or two. So that could help him out a little bit. But, Kansas City right now, I mean, I think, look, you can make a case for a lot of teams in the AFC. Buffalo, Pittsburgh, not too crazy about that offense. Baltimore, they're kind of Jekyll and Hyde at times. Denver, Denver could. I said could. I'm not saying they will, but they could be a sleeper in an AFC. Maybe Houston, if they get their O-line together, I would put Houston up there again. Got to get their O-line together first. But I think Buffalo is the top dog in that AFC.
I think Kansas City is still a class, but they're very beatable, just like they were a year ago. For me, for Buffalo, even though it's a better team than they were a year ago, even though after that fire, Ken Dorsey as their OC and Joe Brady took over, Buffalo's team is a real balanced team this year, and they're going to get the Dallas Cowboys treatment from me once the playoffs start. You could beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the regular season like they did around this time last year, but what happened in the playoffs? They gave that game away. Kansas City didn't play their best. Kansas City walks out of Buffalo with the victory. Of course, they went on to win the Super Bowl. So then the mental hurdle for the Bills will be the Chiefs once again this year, should they meet in the playoffs. You can beat them in the regular season, but when it counts, you disappear. So it's all about a mental edge for Buffalo this year, especially if they meet up with Kansas City in the playoffs. I don't care where it is, whether it's in KC or in Buffalo. They lost at both places over the last few years in the playoffs, so it really doesn't matter where you play them. Of course, if you're Buffalo, we want them in our backyard, blah, 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 blah. But, yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens.
All right. So what other games are you looking forward to this week, Sid? We got a full slate here. No teams on bye this week. So, yeah, we got a full slate here.
Yeah, and they're spread throughout 3 days. And like I said, we'll give you our picks on these games coming up after the break. But I'm interested in that Cardinals-Vikings game. I think we'll get that game here in Chicago. It'll be on Fox, I believe, at high noon on Sunday. Vikings 9-2, the Cardinals 6-5. The Cardinals they did not bring it last week at Seattle. They had an ugly loss. Of course, the Vikings escaped here in Chicago in overtime with that 3-point win last week. Kyler Murray must play better, and the Cardinals must find a running game. Both those things did not happen last week in Seattle. They still clinging on to that division lead with Seattle in the NFC West division. The Vikings, you would think they'll have a letdown. It hasn't happened yet, but the Cardinals must play better.
Yeah, and I've been picking the Cardinals the last couple of weeks. They've let me down. Thanks for nothing, you knuckleheads. But yeah, I mean, we'll just see what happens in that game. Like I said, that I guess you could say that maybe the Chargers Falcons game that might be interesting because you got the Chargers, they got to travel cross country after a short week, playing on Monday night, and they got to play a noon game too. You're playing an Atlanta team that hasn't played very well the last couple of weeks, so they're coming off a bye, so you got to help them a little bit. But I don't know what to think about this Atlanta. I don't know what to think about this Atlanta squad.
Yeah, they're hit and miss, as I talked about a couple weeks ago when they played the Denver Broncos. They're a different team at home than they are outside. And you saw what happened at Denver. They got embarrassed in the cold outside. They're a very different team at home. And let's not forget Darnell Mooney, the former Chicago Bear wide receiver. He's having a great year for Atlanta. I know he's been injured. I don't know if he's going to play this weekend or not. So if they get him back, the chances definitely gets better with them beating the Chargers. But like you mentioned, the Chargers, they lost a tough one this past Monday night. So, like you said, this will be a get-right game for both of these teams.
Probably the game of the week here. You got the Eagles and the Ravens, a battle of the birds, I guess they're calling this. That's going to be on CBS. And I'm kind of just like, both these teams. Could this be a Super Bowl preview? We'll see. But I mean, it's gonna get a little bit tight there at the top. And I know, Ravens had a short week, and they're actually gonna play a later game, which should definitely help them, in that front. But the defense is kind of a little bit suspect on both ends. So I think that's really gonna be key, especially if Darius Slay can't play due to this concussion.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see some scoring in this game. As I talked about, around this time, you should see a couple games where you watch Baltimore's offense. It looks like you're watching paint dry. But you mentioned the injury to Darius Slay for Philadelphia. That's going to be huge. And let's not forget, on the flip side for Baltimore, their defense is not as strong as it was early in the year. You could throw on that Ravens secondary. And the way Jalen Hurts has been playing, I know he didn't put up great stats last week, but if the Eagles can put their pedal to the metal, I expect Jalen Hurts to have a huge game on the road this week against Baltimore. Again, especially against that weak secondary.
Could be very interesting. Now, San Francisco and Buffalo. I mean, look, you thought this game would be good. It seemed like it could be a good game earlier in the season. You wish they could. I'm sure NBC wish they could flex this game out, but looks like Brock Purdy is going to be out again. And a lot of injuries going on down there and over there in the Bay Area, and I'm a little bit worried because Buffalo's coming off a bye. They were able to kind of celebrate a little bit that win against the Chiefs. So I think for me, I think this is going to be kind of like one of those. This game could get really ugly really quick.
Yeah, for the 49ers, you must lean on Christian McCaffrey in that running game. And Brandon Allen should get the start. He must play better. Last week, outside that touchdown pass to George Kittle late in that first half, he didn't have it at all. And the 49ers had self-inflicted wounds throughout that game last week at Green Bay. So if the 49ers could cut down on their own mistakes, I think they'll have a shot. But like you said, Buffalo's on the road right now. And the one thing you have to worry about this Bills team is complacency. Like you said, they had a week to sit on that victory against Kansas City. They had to be refocused because if they come out like some days ago, the 49ers can't jump on them. So as we said before, we'll say it again. The NFL is a week-to-week league. So if Buffalo thinks we can walk in on that backyard and we just coast, and they're sadly mistaken.
Should be interesting down there in Buffalo. So we're going to take a really quick break, of course. We'll have our picks for Week 13 in the NFL. We got our girl Christine Mann from KXRB. We got her picks, and very close in the stat department with our total picks. And we'll do a little bit of college hoops too, as a couple of top 10 matchups and various tournaments across the across the Atlantic, or even in the Pacific, however you want to go about it. So we got a lot to do still here at Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. Our picks coming up as we wrap up this special Wednesday edition coming up right after this.
This year, my mom got me the perfect bag for back to school.
These colorful binders help me stay organized.
These headphones are just what I need for studying.
These new sneakers are just what I need for the new year.
This jacket is a real must-have.
My parents got me the skateboard I wanted. It's pretty cool.
These scissors really come in handy in art class.
These colored pencils, too.
These new socks, they can be a real lifesaver.
I finally got my own phone to stay in touch with my mom.
Trisha's having a sleepover tonight. Can I go?
I wonder about Lucy's friends. What should I say? I know you're only 10, but one of these days a friend will offer you a drink. And alcohol at your age can lead to so many things. None of them good.
So can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me
I
something.
finished my homework.
Bigger promise. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, "No thanks, not my thing."
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
Sure.
Really?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov, a public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Hey, this is Dr. J, and I listen to Sean and Maya in the morning.
Welcome back to Second City Sports. You're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakino. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow my Kingdom again on the Twitter, X, and the IG.
This is our last break of the show for today and for this longest extended weekend. So, you have any last minute questions or comments for us, you can always hit us up at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments to the comment section. Lakina will get them up on the screen for you.
All right, Sid. Of course, our girl Christine Mann from KXRB isn't with us today, but we have her picks and interesting development here. She and I are tied at 106. Incidentally, you and Christine had eight wins this week. I only had 6. She and I are tied. Yeah, she and I are tied. You're only 2 games back of both of us, so it's getting a little crowded at the top, folks.
I told you it's time for the big dogs to eat.
All right. We'll see what happens to some of these games coming up this week. So, all right, and of course, we'll do the second Thursday game tomorrow for Thanksgiving. We don't, like I said, we don't usually do the Thursday games, but we'll do it this week as the Giants and the Cowboys face each other in the Cowboys annual Thanksgiving Day matchup here, and this will probably be in the background as I'll probably be asleep during this time. So, what you said?
I'll be honest here. I'll be watching something else, but I'll probably keep up with it via my phone. I know the Cowboys had that stunning win at Washington last week. The Giants look like crap. Whether Tommy DeVito plays or not, it doesn't matter. Dallas is 0-5 at home, make it 1-5, and they're 3.5-point favorites. So I'm going with the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick the Cowboys too, basically for no other reason, just because it's just because I guess somebody has to win the game, I guess. So I guess that's why I'm picking the Cowboys too. No, like I said, for no other reason, like I'll probably have like you said, so I'm also gonna have this game in the background. I'm probably gonna be maybe taking a nap before I eat. So yeah, this is gonna be like my nap time for me. So yeah, I'm picking the Cowboys. Well, and so is Christine. She's also picking Dallas. So little start here as we start off the Bosses here. The primetime game for the Thursday night tonight. This will be on NBC. You got the Dolphins and the Packers. Weather could be a factor here for this, and because at Lambeau, because of course it's gonna be a little chilly over there at Lambeau. And I think for me, I know Tua's been playing much better. I know the Dolphins are playing much better, but you're going to be in the cold in Green Bay. So I'm picking the Packers. They'll keep it close, but I'm picking the Packers here for this one. And let me see. I got Christine's picks right here. She's also picking the Packers.
Make it 3 for 3. I'm going with Green Bay, even though I'm cheering hard as hell for the Dolphins. Green Bay has a better defense overall than Miami, and the Packers have a better running game than the Dolphins. So Green Bay will take it here. Green Bay's favored by 3.5.
Okay. So interesting. 3. So they actually. So I guess Vegas sees something we don't in a pick 'em. So we'll see. It should be a good one down there at Lambeau now. First, a Friday game on Prime Video, a Black Friday game in Prime Video. Again, I'll probably watch more college football than anything. Garner Minshew's out, O'Connell's in, and we got the Chiefs. I'm sure they're going to want their revenge for losing to the Raiders last year on Christmas. So I think they'll keep it close, but I guess KC will hang on to win. I think they'll edge out another one again. So I'm picking Kansas City.
I know Antonio Pierce will have some confidence because he won on Christmas Day at Arrowhead last year, but unfortunately he's not going to be so lucky this year. I think Isaiah Pacheco will return for the Chiefs, so their running game is going to be a two-headed monster between him and Kareem Hunt. I need Isaiah Pacheco to play because he's on my fantasy team, but I digress. But the way the Chiefs have been playing, especially these last couple of weeks, it gives you a cause for concern. But I'm picking the Chiefs in this one. They're the better team. I think they'll remember what happened to them against the Raiders last year. KC is currently favored by 12.5 points.
All right. And Christine also has KC. So we're coming out the gate these 2 games. You do the next one, Sid, because I'm trying to get this. Got 5 different things here going here.
We're starting with the Sunday games at high noon on CBS. Definitely keep your eye on this one live via this computer screen in Red Zone. It's the 6-5 Atlanta Falcons hosting the 7-4 the San Diego Chargers of Los Angeles, as we call them on this show. The Chargers lost a tough one to Baltimore a couple of nights ago on Monday Night Football at home. The Falcons, they got embarrassed by the Denver Broncos a couple of weeks ago on the road. The Falcons are at home, but the Chargers are 2.5-point favorites on the road. The Chargers have played well on the East Coast this year, in particular in Carolina earlier this year. I think the Falcons will play better, but the Chargers are the better team here, and they sense that they got dominated at home by Baltimore. So the Chargers, with all the distractions of the hardball ball and foolishness out the way, they'll go on the road, be refocused. I got the Chargers winning this game.
I also have the Chargers winning. I know they got to travel cross country on a short week, but Atlanta, I'm a little iffy about Atlanta right now. I know they're coming off a bye, but I just don't see. I think the Chargers are just a better team at this point because. If Deontay Johnson had to drop a couple of those passes, maybe they should have won that game against Baltimore. So I'm sure he's gonna clean that up this week, and I think it'll be close. But I think the Chargers will pull away late, and Uncle Christine also has the Chargers, so should be a fun one down there in Atlanta.
Next game on CBS at high noon is the Cincinnati Bengals at 4-7 hosting the 8-3 Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers have looked good so far this year. They're 4-2 away from Heinz Field. The Bengals, they lost a close one a couple weeks ago to the Chargers on Sunday Night Football. Well, it was close. They came back, but they fell short. They're now 4-7. As we talked about with Joe Burrow, or as Christine, the Queen calls him Joe Money. If it wasn't for the team record, he'll be up there for an MVP candidate with 27 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. Lakina, Pittsburgh hasn't looked that great on the road lately. As I mentioned, they are 4-2 away from home, but this is a divisional game, and I know Hard Knocks is starting to follow them now. Thanks to NFL Films and HBO, they're following the AFC North for those of you scoring at home. But I think the Steelers are in for a rude awakening. They're in for a wake-up call. I'm going with Cincinnati here. Currently, Cincinnati is favored by 3 at home.
Well, Christine has Pittsburgh, and she has a question mark by it, though. So take that for what it's worth. Yeah, so because you never really know what's going to happen in this rivalry between these two. And like you said, Sid, I mean, if it wasn't for Cincinnati would have a better record, probably would say maybe you can have Burrow be up there for MVP, an MVP discussion. But I'm going to pick, I guess, Pittsburgh because I have no clue why. Because I guess someone's got to win this game, and we're just to see how kind of this all sort of shakes out here. But yeah. Like I said, it might be one of those, the old 80s, like 9-6 or something like that. So it might be in that case. So yeah, I think it could probably see that game being there because I think the offense are not going to be very good. So we'll see what happens there. Now, next up here on the docket, I believe our Brace Brodies will have the call. Well, no, it's going to be on Fox, but Texans and Jaguars. So the Texans, had a bad loss against the Titans. And that O-line, like I said, that Texans O-line really needs to clean up if they want to, I'm dropping stuff here, but if they really want to, have to clean up that O-line, if they want to, get to the next step. So Joe Mixon is going to have a big, shot at this because he didn't have a good shot. Didn't give him the ball too much in that game last week. So I'm picking the Texans. I got a question mark on my head for the Texans because I have no clue what's going to happen, but I got Houston, and so does Christine. We'll get that out the way, too. She also has Houston. No question mark for her, though.
Yeah, I'm going with Houston as well. They're favored by 4 on the road.
All right. You go next, Sid. Let me type this up here.
As we continue on with the noon games, the Arizona Cardinals at 6-5 will travel to Minnesota at USA Bank Stadium to take on the 92 Minnesota Vikings. As we talked about in our last segment, the Vikings stole a victory from Chicago last week in overtime. The Cardinals, they looked like crap on the road at Seattle last week. The Cardinals must get back to establishing their running game, and they had to open up the passing game outside of their young stud tight end Trey McBride. For the Vikings, Justin Jefferson didn't have his best game last week, but Jordan Addison did. So did TJ Hockenson, their tight end, especially in overtime at Chicago. I think it's going to be another ugly, close game, but I think the Vikings defense, even though Budda Baker is good on the flip side for Arizona, Minnesota's Vikings defense has been good. I know they took a step back last week until overtime, but I think they're at home. They'll reestablish themselves. They'll get the running game back going again with Aaron Jones and Cam Akers. I'm going with Minnesota. They're currently favored by 3.5 points.
Yeah, I'm picking Minnesota as well. So is Christine. I think Minnesota is sort of one of those teams where they've been able to kind of eke out wins. Of course, they did it against the Bears last week. So Minnesota should be, it's a good get right game for Minnesota. I think Minnesota should be able to do just fine in that sense. And I think, I think, look, it should be, Justin Jefferson. He was kind of tame. The Bears, they were kind of tame a little bit. But yeah, you should have a nice, much better go at it this week. So I'm picking Minnesota for this one. We're probably gonna have that game in Chicago too, like you said. Now, Colts and Patriots. I believe our buddies Proteas will have the call of this game for CBS, and I'm not picking the Patriots no more. But I tried it last week and it didn't go so well for me. So I know Indianapolis. They were right there for a little bit against Detroit. Richardson, he's doing everything he can, still making kind of those rookie-esque mistakes. But yeah, I think the Colts will do just enough to win this game. This could be one of those ugly, really ugly games. So I'm picking Indy, and Christy has the Colts with a question mark on it.
Make it 3 for 3 for me. I'm going with the Colts as well. They were in it early, like you said, against the Lions, but they couldn't muster up any offense in terms of touchdowns. I think you'll get your 1980 special, Akina, 17-9, 20-10 game. This has ugly L-U-G-L-Y. You ain't got no L about written all over it. So I'm going with the Colts, and they're currently favored by 2.5 on the road.
Oh boy, I guess you could take the under. I guess if you're anybody, if you're there. So yeah, it's gonna get a little ugly down there in Foxborough. All right, you got the Seahawks and the Jets. The Seahawks are kind of on a roll. They've won a couple in a row. I know they got to travel cross country. The noon game. I know the Jets are coming off a bye. The Jets are a mess. I think Gino's gonna have a little bit of a time with that Jets defense. So
that's right.
Yeah, so I'm picking Seattle, and that's about it for me. I'm not gonna waste a lot of time on this one for me.
And Rex Ryan, ESPN wants to come back and coach the Jets, but that's a whole other issue we'll discuss on our next episode. But as far as this game is concerned, I need DK Metcalf and Breece Hall to both do well on my fantasy team. Of course, in my league, we're in the fantasy football playoffs, but I digress. But the actual game, the Jets defense is overrated. The offense stinks. Seattle's coming in on the road, like you mentioned last week. Now that's in the driver's seat in the NFC West division. Seattle's favored by 2. I'm going to stick my neck out. I'm going with Seattle.
All right. And Christine also has Seattle. So, it's a sweep there. Now, we've got the Titans and the Commanders. Hoping the Commanders hoping to bounce back from those, a couple of tough losses for the Commanders. And the Titans coming off that nice upset win over in Houston. I know people are wondering, is this kind of like a midweek, mid-season, Kingsbury? The offense really has been a problem for the Commanders. It's been the defense. Defense has actually kind of been sort of lackadaisical the last couple of weeks. So, we know Will Levis, has a pick 6 in him. So this could be a nice little kind of get right game for the Commanders and that defense. So I think the Commanders get back on track. I think the Commanders, those Christy, she also has Washington.
Give me Washington as well. I think that Brian Robinson Jr. is injured. I don't know if he's going to play out or not. If he doesn't play, Jeremy Nichols will be your starting running back for Washington. You mentioned the Titans, what they did last week, but I think they're going to come back down to earth. The Commanders will get refocused. I have them winning at home. They're currently favored by 5.5.
All right. So the place is probably going to be rocking down there in Landover, Maryland. A NFC South matchup. We got Tampa and the Panthers. You start this one.
As we head into the 3:00 game, so Buccaneers, Panthers. Tampa Bay's favored by 6 on the road. The Panthers kept it close last week against the Chiefs before losing at the buzzer. The Buccaneers, they blew out the New York Football halfless Giants on the road last week. Baker Mayfield taunting any and everybody who he knows on the Giants. This was an ugly close game last year, Lakina, which decided the NFC South, which the Buccaneers came out with a 9-6 win. I think the score is going to be a little bit better this year, but not that much different. So I think the Panthers will cover here, but I have Tampa Bay win the ball game.
Yeah, same here. I think I think Carolina, they've been playing better. Bryce Young's been playing better. Just got to get the better personnel around it. But yeah, I think this is probably all Tampa. I think Tampa has a shot to perhaps get back into the swing of things in the NFC South, especially since Atlanta's been in a free-for-all. So Tampa, like I said, Carolina will cover, though, I think. And Christine also has the Bucs, so another sweep here, the other 3:05 game on Fox, you got the Rams and the Saints. And it's in here with the Rams. I mean, the Rams are, I know they had that tough loss last week. I know the Saints are coming off a bye. Taysom Hill, of course, I'm sure they're going to be using him a lot. Talk about New Orleans, but they don't play till 3 o'clock, so it's sort of like their normal time anyway. So that should help the Rams a little bit. Got to clean up the little things here, of course. Stafford, Pakua, Puda, you got to use him a little bit more as well. Cooper Kupp still, a factor here. That defense, we just kind of try to say Antonio. I'm picking the Rams, I think, because I think they're putting the Rams on the upside just because they're playing at 3 o'clock, and this should definitely help them. So I'm picking the Rams, and so is Christy. She also has the Rams.
I'm going in upset. I'm putting them on the table. I'm going with the Saints, and you just have one of my reasons why. Taysom Hill, besides him being on my fantasy team, he's the only big time weapon that the Saints have with their receiving core. Of course, Chris Olave is done for the year. So is Rashid Shaheed. But don't forget about Alvin Kamara. He can run it down your throat as well. So I think the Saints will keep us close. We mentioned about their Rams defense the last couple of weeks. They started to turn it around, but they got punched in the mouth last Sunday night against Philadelphia. But I think that mini free fall continues for Los Angeles. I'm going with the Saints at home. And currently the Rams are favored by 2.5 points.
Oh yeah, so it's basically a pick 'em. So should be interesting to see what happens down there in New Orleans in the Superdome. The Eagles and the Ravens, the big game of the week here, the lone game on CBS. It could be a Super Bowl preview again. We'll see. I know that I know that they're gonna this is gonna be an interesting matchup here because I know Baltimore, you're coming out that nice high against Los Angeles. They're going to be playing at the clock, so that should help them a little bit there. I know it's a short week. Philadelphia, Darius Slay, we don't know what his status is. We probably won't know until probably Saturday. This has been kind of a back for me. I guess I'll pick the Eagles because I just don't trust Baltimore. I just don't trust. I mean, it's just like one of those things where like you thought that maybe you'll start believing in Baltimore, they end up sticking up the place. So but yeah, I think the Eagles will do just enough to win this game. Jalen Hurts will have a nice big game against that secondary of Baltimore's because it's not very good. And I know that AJ will have a nice showing as well. And Saquon, the battle of the running backs, Saquon versus Derek Henry, that'll be a fun matchup. A lot of fun. But yeah, I'm picking the Eagles just because they're in a much better spot right now. And Christine also has the Eagles.
I hate to say it, make it 3 for 3. I'm going with Philadelphia as well. Baltimore's currently 3-point favorites at home. You mentioned Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry. Both those two guys are top candidates for Comeback Player of the Year.
Definitely, and I wish we could give it to both of them because like I said, they're both deserving of that honor. But yeah, it should be a fun one down there now. The Sunday night game, like I said, I'm sure that ABC wish they had flexed this game out, but nonetheless, we got to pick San Francisco and Buffalo. Sid, you start off here for us.
Buffalo's to play here. They're currently favored by 7 at home.
I also have Buffalo as well. Like I said, look, Kyle Shanahan doesn't deserve to be on the hot seat. I think he's like I said, it's just look, this is his first bad season. Like 5 years he's been there, so I think he's a little bit of a break here. Purdy's probably going to be out. Kittle will play, but that offense just isn't this kind of a show. So the defense, we'll see. It's gonna be a tough one. I think San Francisco will keep it close for a little bit, but I think Buffalo pulls away late. And Christina Grisham also has Buffalo.
All right, in the Monday night affair, we'll have the Cleveland Browns traveling to Mile High Stadium to take on Christine's husband's team, the Chris Gilman, his Denver Broncos. They check in at 7-5. I think this is an easy pick for me right here. I think it's going to be a ugly, close game. Denver's defense is young. They fly around. They're very aggressive. Cleveland has a great defense too, but offensively, Denver has it rolling right now. Bo Nix is the top candidate for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think he continues that trend. Denver's 5.5 point favorite at home. I'm going with Denver.
Yeah, I'm picking Denver too. Like I said, I just think Denver's kind of on a roll. I think Sean Payton's making the case for Coach of the Year. I feel like, and yeah, I think they're just playing on a roll right now. Like I said, they're not the flashiest team Denver is, but they're kind of doing little things right. And to his credit, he's not making any mistakes so far. So like I said, he's in the driver's seat for Offensive Rookie of the Year. So Denver, and Christine also picked Denver as well. I don't think she had to make sure because they're. She didn't want to disappoint her.
You don't say.
Yeah, so she also has Denver. Last but not least, like I said, the first game on the docket for Thanksgiving. The Lions and the Bears. Gosh, I mean, the Bears showed a little bit of promise the last couple of weeks, keeping the games close, but I just don't. I think they will keep it close early, but I just don't see the Bears winning this game. I don't think they'll get blown out, but I think the Lions they want to send a message for Thanksgiving. They want to have a nice Thanksgiving. They don't want to have feel the wrath of Dan Campbell. So I'm picking Detroit, and Christine also has Detroit too.
Make it 3 for 3. I'm going with the Lions as well. They're currently 9.5-point favorites at home. I know we don't pick point spread wins, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears have a surprise backdoor cover for this one. I think the Lions will have definitely a 20-point cushion. Then the Bears will score a touchdown late to maybe sneak backdoor cover. But as far as the actual winner is concerned, I'm going with the Lions.
All right, let's just hope that Tony Romo doesn't start swearing or be on the verge of swearing afterwards because he's calling the game for CBS. All right, so those are your picks for the long Thanksgiving Day weekend in NFL Week 13. You're listening to Second C Sports on Sports Social Chicago. Keenan McGee, Sydney Brown with you. We still got a few more minutes left here before we go off on our little break, Thanksgiving mini break here. Now, there were some great college hoops games on last night. In Kansas City, you got Kansas edging out Duke, and really great showing there. We got a little physical, a little testy here late in that game, the last few minutes, but Kansas, their credit, they were able to pull off to get the big shots late and beat the Blue Devils. Yeah,
Cooper Flagg had that big monster dunk late in that second half, which was nice. I know he struggled as far as the whole game is concerned in terms of scoring, but I want to talk about that play, Lakina. Brown for Duke, he was guarding Hunter Dickinson for Kansas, went up for a hook shot, missed it, and then Brown was going for the rebound for Duke, and then Hunter Dickinson, as they came down, Hunter Dickinson purposely, you saw the replay closely, he put his foot in Brown's face, he got ejected for it. I thought the refs made the correct call on that one. If you notice, Kansas was about to pull away, but until Dickinson got kicked out, Duke made a run, but I forgot who shot the ball that would have forced overtime. But Duke all of a sudden picked up momentum after Dickinson got ejected, but they just couldn't finish the deal, forcing it into overtime. Now early, Kansas they were hitting their shots, they were moving the ball around, they were in their spots defensively, and Duke was confused, but Duke got back in the game late in that first half. And started off a little bit slow in that second half, but they hung around until the Dickinson ejection, and then they just got a shot of momentum. They took advantage of it. They just couldn't force overtime. But it was a very good game last night.
Yeah, it's pretty entertaining. Like I said, I mean, I hope we get to see them, play again, perhaps maybe even in late March or early April. Just saying. Dickinson kind of did that a lot when he was over at Michigan. So not a big surprise there for them. DeJuan Harris Jr. had 14 points. He had that big shot for Kansas. I know that's what you're talking about. That kind of sealed that win there for the Jayhawks. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of going to be interesting to see how Kansas. I think they're going to be at the number one spot for a while now. So yeah, it should be it'll be interesting to see how Kansas. Look, Kansas not going to have any trouble like they did last year. Of course, lack of depth was this year. They don't have that problem this year. They can go good 10 or 12 deep. So.
Oh, and shout out to, I believe it was Tyrese Proctor, Lakina, for Duke. He was hitting some big time shots. He was the only one that was hitting it consistently from the outside last night. And I know he was a big role player for Duke last year, but I think he's going to be better this year. He had a good game last night.
Yeah, he really did. And like you said, he was like one of the few bright spots for that Duke team. I know Cooper Flag kind of had his struggles a little bit against Dickinson. So before Dickinson got ejected, so very nice showing there by Duke. They're gonna be battle tested once they start facing TCC. So I think I wouldn't worry too much about Duke at this point. I know this I lost to Kentucky a couple weeks ago, but this should kind of prove that look, they may be able to flip these teams in when it counts. So we'll see what happens there. Now UConn, they lost a couple in a row. They lost to Memphis, your Memphis Tigers, and with Penny Hardaway, and of course
they almost blew that one.
Yeah, they did, but they also lost in Colorado in the consolation bracket of that tournament, and Danny Hurley got ejected just for like the third time in his career. We'll have time to talk about that at a later time because people are saying, "Oh, is he the new villain of college? Who's blah blah blah, whatever." But again, look, it happens, so not a big deal there. North Carolina and Auburn, of course, they had a nice little game over there in Maui. Auburn, held on and then pulled away 85-72 over North Carolina. Iowa State, also in Maui, they beat Dayton in the consolation bracket. Alabama edged out Houston overtime 85-80. That was the first game of that doubleheader down there in Kansas City. Kentucky over Western Kentucky. Oregon upset Texas A&M. Oregon, they kind of snuck in there last year, almost got to the Final Four. So they should be another good one this year. And San Diego State beat Creighton. Creighton a little bit so far this year. Couple of losses in a row for them. So a lot of tournaments, in the Bahamas and in Maui, and I think there was one down there in like South Carolina that's finishing up. So Memphis actually did win that tournament. They beat Michigan State, so a nice little put up a nice little resume. They beat UConn, they beat Michigan State, so those wins could probably be a good thing for Memphis down the road. As we get into March.
Yes, and let's not forget tomorrow, Thanksgiving Day on CBS, following that Bears possibly massacre against the Lions. We'll have Arkansas versus the Fighting Line. I'm really looking forward to that one.
Oh yeah, that should be a fun one. Illinois looked really good so far, but it's gonna be the first big test. Playing John Calipari's Arkansas squad, so that should be a fun one there on. Like you said, it's gonna be on CBS, so that should be a fun one over there on Thanksgiving. As we a little bit of a if the Giants Cowboys game doesn't take your fancy, you watch a little bit of college news, kind of get that going there for that one. And going into Wisconsin, they host Chicago State on Peacock. That's going to be on Saturday. On the Peacock app. So those of you who are based in Chicago, if you want to see Chicago State, you can watch on the Peacock app. Marquette hosts Western Carolina. Any other games of note here? Not really seeing anything else of note. Kansas are back at it. They play Furman. St. John's, they host Harvard. That's going to be on Peacock. Peacock's going to be very busy this weekend with some of these hoops games. That's it for Saturday. Any more for Sunday? Let's see. Anything for Sunday before we move on? The first day of December. Not really anything of note here. Let me go down the line here. Not really anything of. Xavier, they're playing pretty well so far. They host South Carolina State. It's going to be at 3:30 on FS1. And that's really it there. Nebraska and hosted North Florida on BTN. So some really good ones. A few good matches here throughout the weekend in college hoops, I should say. So in between, your shopping and you're eating the leftovers, you can get a little bit of a college hoops action in between the NFL action.
I know we'll save the article for about the NBA All-Star game for Monday show, Lakina. So I'll give you extra time to read it over the weekend by Marcus Thompson of The Athletic. Remind me to talk about that on Monday, but because we're running up against it. But real quick, your thoughts as we transition to baseball. Blake Snell signs a 5-year contract with the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Yeah, not a big surprise. They got $180 million. Hey, must be nice. But the Cubs are going bargain basement shopping, so. I can't fault the Dodgers. I mean, look, they're still right there to think of it for Juan Soto. So I can't look. They actually did pretty well and won the World Series without doing a bullpen thing. So you get a proven starter in Blake Snell. So yeah, they only got better. I'm talking about the Dodgers did.
I think you can say bye-bye to John Flaherty and Walker Buehler. That's my quick thought.
Yeah, probably. But look, they were, I can see that too. But yeah, Soto, picks a team during this this long Thanksgiving break. Will he pick a team? We'll see.
I think he will, but we won't hear about it until next week because remember the GM, the annual GM general managers meetings will be held next week, so we will probably have a decision by then.
All right. Anything else before we disperse?
I'm ready to eat. Let's go.
With that said, you can follow my Keenan McGee on the Twitter, execute again, the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80. Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, X, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to our podcast. We're located at War Media Podcast. That's WARR Media, PODCASTS. We're on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And while you're ready, please give War Media a follow at WARR Media on all social media platforms. And thank you very much in advance.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago. One more again, as the kids would say. Be sure to catch Second City Sports live in living color every Monday, every Friday from noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
All right, folks. Enjoy all the great sports. This long weekend. You got the NFL, college football, college hoops, NBA, NHL. Hopefully Connor Bedard, you got a picture taken with Justin Jefferson, so hopefully he can have a little bit of that, rub a little bit of that magic on him, and get off this sophomore slump. But so enjoy all the sports, everybody. Don't overindulge, and be safe out there and stay warm because it's gonna be cold in a lot of parts of the country. Coming up after tomorrow. So first, Sid, I'm Lakia. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. This is Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. Eat, drink, be merry, and be safe. We'll see you guys Monday.
Happy Thanksgiving. Holla.